Israel and Iran have traded strikes against each other for the first time since a ceasefire was agreed in April. Iran launched missiles at northern Israel late Sunday in retaliation for Israeli strikes on what it says are Hezbollah targets in the Lebanese capital in Beirut earlier in the day. Iran had repeatedly threatened that any Israeli strike on Beirut would trigger a response. Hezbollah is backed by Iran and part of its so-called axis of resistance. US President Donald Trump had urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to strike Beirut in what was reportedly an angry phone call between the two leaders to discuss Israel's operations in Lebanon, and said a deal to end the war remained within reach. Last week, Iran suspended indirect peace talks with Washington over Israel's continued offensive in Lebanon. Negotiations about Iran's nuclear program, ballistic missiles, and the future of the Strait of Hormuz had stalled recently, with the US and Iran blaming each other for the deadlock. As part of a ceasefire deal with the US, Tehran has demanded an end to the fighting in Lebanon, something the Israelis are staunchly opposed to. Israel launched strikes on central and western Iran early Monday morning. Iranian media reported explosions in Tehran, Tabriz and Isfahan, as well as near Karg Island. Iran also closed the airspace around Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport, the country's main airfield. The Israeli Air Force says it also hit an Iranian petrochemical plant. Iranian missiles resumed Monday morning. We could hear explosions here over the sky in Jerusalem. The IRGC said they aimed at 2 Israeli Air Force bases in retaliation for Israel hitting Iranian radar installations earlier. Overall, Israeli media reported some 30 missiles were launched from Iran. Most were intercepted. Yemen's Houthis, which are also backed by Iran, also launched a ballistic missile at Israel and announced they will begin targeting Israeli vessels in the Red Sea again. In the meantime, oil prices jumped more than 4.5% and Asian stock markets plummeted. The question now is whether today's tit-for-tat missile exchange will escalate further, with potentially dire consequences for regional stability and the world economy. Is this the beginning of a renewed wider war after almost 2 months of a ceasefire, or an attempt by the different parties to better their negotiation positions?